Hi, it's John and welcome to the channel 4:16 a.m. It is Wednesday, the 23rd of April with the big blue mug of coffee, 5 days until Election Day. And I think you're going to love today's video. This is great. I had fun putting this together. Before I get to it, if you could please subscribe to the channel, I would appreciate it. Let's get to 26,000 subscribers. So I was thinking about this morning. Do you realize we haven't had Parliament sitting since the 19th of December when they went on Christmas break? In fact, we probably haven't had an effective government for a couple of months before that because the Liberals refused to hand over documents regarding the Green Slush Fund, where they were funneling millions of your tax dollars to their friends. And if the Liberals get back in, that will never be uncovered. So only one of many scandals of the Liberal government over the last 9 years. At the same time, they've been milking the Donald Trump thing to drive up their poll numbers and have done absolutely nothing to solve the problem of tariffs with Donald Trump. It's the Liberals' fault. It's all their fault. But people are going to vote for them on Monday and have in great numbers at advanced polling. Meanwhile, my Premier Danielle Smith tried to be diplomatic and get this issue solved. She has been absolutely amazing in what she's done to try to solve the problem of tariffs from Alberta. She speaks on behalf of me in Alberta, and she's been speaking on behalf of you in Canada. She is absolutely incredible, and she's been warning everybody about the dangers of the Liberal Party and Mark Carney. And the clips I'm showing you today only go back a couple of months, so I want you to sit back and enjoy Danielle Smith's greatest hits as she warns you about Mark Carney and the Liberal Party.
Alberta will continue in its pursuit of doubling our oil and gas production to meet the growing global demand for energy. And we will not let Ottawa stand in our way. We will not tolerate the continuous unconstitutional overreaches made by the federal Liberal government. Measures like the emissions cap, the net zero electricity regs, the net zero electric vehicle mandate, and the energy industry advertising ban must be stopped now. And make no mistake, Alberta will do whatever it takes to shield our economy from the Liberals' growth-killing lunacy. However, if the new Prime Minister wants to resume an old fight, well, we will. We'll fight tooth and nail. Because if we can't make these decisions and build, then it's so obvious, when it's so obviously in the national interest, then what kind of an economic future does Canada have?
I think that the Prime Minister has made his views very clear about keeping oil and gas in the ground. He's made his views very clear about he not wanting a transparent carbon tax. He wants a hidden one. So I don't think it does Alberta any good if we end up seeing massive increases to industrial carbon taxes. It's been quoted many times saying he thinks that the carbon tax is too low. So I'm going to just reserve judgment. I had a whole range of things that are problematic with the federal government, from emissions caps to tanker bans off the West Coast, the inability to approve pipelines, getting approvals and then having them pulled, having a convoluted regulatory process that makes it impossible to get new pipelines built, continued threats of regulating our power grid, continued threats of regulating our industry, continued threats of export taxes, cutting off energy. I haven't really seen any change that would lead me to be encouraged that we're going to have a reset on our relationship. So,
Extremist former Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault is still in cabinet. But that shouldn't surprise any of us, given that the new Prime Minister is a whole new level of climate zealot and eco-extremist. From his decades-long push for net zero banking that sought to make it impossible for banks to invest in oil and gas, to his promise now to massively increase carbon taxes on our industry, make no mistake, he wants to eviscerate our oil and gas industry. It's right in his book.
I want for us to be able to build economic corridors. I want us to be able to develop all of our resources from oil and gas all the way through to critical minerals and beyond. But I also want Canada to work for Alberta, and it hasn't for the last 10 years because of terrible policies by the Liberals.
Everyday working Canadians have had enough of bad policies and bad ideas from Ottawa that only serve to make us weaker and weaker and weaker. Enough with their meaningless, virtue-signaling, extreme climate policies that only serve to make Canadians poorer, threaten our energy security, kill jobs and investment across the country, and make us vulnerable to unpredictable trade winds. These policies are not progressive. They're the very opposite. They're regressive. They take us backward, not forward. We cannot let Canada continue to be managed into mediocrity. We must take action to strengthen our country and create lasting prosperity for generations to come.
Look, I mean, we have to understand the reason why tens of billions of dollars have left our country is because of a federal regulatory process where there is no end in sight. We lost the Tech Frontier mine, we lost Energy East, we've lost multi-billion-dollar projects because the federal government has created such a convoluted process where there isn't a clear pathway to finishing. So I'm not going to hold out hope that all of a sudden they're going to see the light after 9 years.
You can't ride two horses at once. You got to decide. Are you going to repeal the policies that have killed investment in Alberta so that we can be that energy superpower, or are you not? And so that's we've yet to see the answer to that question. So I'll wait and see which horse the next prime minister is going to ride. But you have to have policies in place that will bring investment back, and the policies that the current Liberal government have in place that chase it away.
To the new Prime Minister and the Liberal Party, I have one message. Alberta has had enough. Enough with Ottawa trampling over our provincial jurisdiction like Canada's Constitution doesn't exist. Enough with the meaningless virtue signaling climate policies that only make Canadians poorer and threaten our energy security. Enough of their screw the West, we'll take the rest mentality. Enough with their soft on crime policies that let repeat offenders roam the streets on bail. Enough with their unsafe supply, their open border policies, their censorship laws, the list goes on and on.
And what does Team Carney want me to do? They want me to abandon my post, remain in Alberta, and do absolutely nothing to defend our province. They want me to cower in the face of Eastern media pundits and politicians who favor political grandstanding to effective diplomacy. I will not be silent. Alberta will not be silent. We will not be pushed around and called traitors for merely having the courage to actually do something about our nation's and province's predicament other than merely indulging in self-righteous tantrums.
Well, I've noticed this with progressive men, how much they talk about how much they support women until they meet a strong conservative woman. And so this is a pretty consistent type of approach that I've seen, not only from the current Prime Minister, but the former one as well. And the attitude is, sit down and shut up. Well, I don't shut up. I make sure that Albertans know exactly how I feel about issues. And I'm going to continue advocating on behalf of my province, whether he likes it or not.
Mark Carney is no friend of Alberta. He is the architect of the net zero banking policy and alliance, which was designed to stop funding oil and gas projects. It was designed to stop insurance companies from insuring oil and gas projects. The offensive agenda that we have, whether it's emissions caps or net zero electricity regs, all generate from Mark Carney, who's been pushing that agenda for a long period of time. So if you think that I would meet the potential of his leadership with any enthusiasm, let me tell you, I think he'd be even worse than what we see out of Justin Trudeau.
The Prime Minister seemed to indicate he wanted to find a way to fast track the construction of new corridors and new pipelines. And then he went and did a press conference where he said that he was not in favor of a hard cap, which is something that he said to me as well in the meeting. But then his environment minister said the exact opposite.
Because you can't do that. You can't promise one thing in one part of the country and another in another part of the country just to be popular and try to sneak in to getting elected. So if he keeps doing that, I hope that you and the independent media keep calling him out on that. Well, I can tell you, President Donald Trump seems to want the Liberals to win again. He gave an interview with Laura Ingraham yesterday saying that he'd prefer for the Liberals, and you have to wonder why. I think it's because the Liberals have made us weak over the last 10 years, and he wants to see that weakness continue. I mean, I was hoping to be able to reset the relationship with the federal government, with a new leader, and yet they seem intent to continue on with the same devastating policies that have essentially locked in our resources and driven away investment for the last 10 years. The emissions cap, in particular, was one where when the Prime Minister did an interview in Alberta, he said that he was not in favor of hard caps. And then the very next day, he said that the emissions cap was here to stay. And quite frankly, the trust is gone with the federal government. They canceled pipelines. They've banned exports off the West Coast. They have put in a net zero power reg. They talked about an emissions cap. So if you think I'm going to believe that they'll take $40 billion out of our economy and just trust them, that it's going to come back, back? I don't. Because the biggest threat to the Alberta economy has been the past 10 years of Liberal government that cancelled $176 billion worth of investment. We continue to face threats, whether it's the tanker ban off the West Coast, Bill C-69, which has still not been passed, net zero power rigs, net zero cars, net zero buildings, methane caps, emissions caps. If they continue doing that, it'll crush our economy. So I would say that we face a dual threat. Yes, we have to deal with the tariffs, but we also equally have to deal with a federal Liberal government that has tried to crush our economy for the past 10 years. And we're just not going to let them do that anymore. And I hope that we have a partner in the federal government who's willing to accept this new reality. I quite frankly think that any government that's going to advocate that we stop building pipelines or block building pipelines or block a province from getting their product to market, I would hope that Canadians wouldn't vote for that government.
She is absolutely amazing. The left's been calling her a traitor. She is not a traitor. She is a patriot. She's an Alberta patriot. She's a Canadian patriot. And we need more people like Danielle Smith. I hope you enjoyed this. I really had fun putting this together. I'm sure there are other clips out there, but that was 9 minutes of Danielle Smith's greatest hits. I hope you have a great day. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications. We're onward towards 26,000 subscribers, and I'll see you in the next one.